there, my name's Hido and welcome to the Pantheon, where we're delving into some other sets, brand new set, Dungeons and Dragons, and our Mickey Overlord is very pleased. So without further ado, let's have a look at Tiamat, a 7-mana dragon god, who's a 7/7 with flying. When he enters the battlefield, if you cast it, search your library for up to 5 dragon cards not named Tiamat that each have different names. Reveal them, put them into your hand, and shuffle your library. Really, really quite cool, he's a big dragony dude, and tutors for a bunch of things. I don't know much about Dungeons and Dragons, but I think he's 5 colour because he has 5 breaths, or something like that. I don't really know. But this is quite a cool commander, I'm not that big of a fan of the fact that they're branching off into all these other sets, all these other different sort of properties, but it makes them money, so it is what it is. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be making a lot more videos like this. I want to eventually get through every single legendary creature ever printed, and there's a lot of them. So please subscribe if you want to watch me do that. Without further ado, let's have a look at number 5. And in at number 5, we've got Dragon's Horde. And all of these cards are just sort of dragon supplemental cards. They make your dragon deck that much better. 3 mana for an artifact. Whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, put a gold counter on Dragon's Horde. Then you can tap it, remove a gold counter from Dragon's Horde, draw a card. Or you can tap it for 1 mana of any colour. So obviously we're a 5 colour deck, so mana fixing incredibly important. This is a mana rock, 3 mana rock, not too unimpressive, and it can also draw us cards in the late game, which is very, very important. Keeps the engine going. And the artwork is lovely. Look at that big pile of gold. You just want to swim in it, Scrooge McDuck style. Which brings me on to Sarkhan Fireblood, a very Scrooge McDuck sort of character. 3 mana for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. Can +1 him to discard a card and draw a card. So again, you can just filter through your deck. Or you can +1 him 2 mana of any combination of colours. Spend this mana only to cast dragon spells. Really, really powerful. We can really accelerate into our 7 mana commander. The fact that he can be attacked down because he's a planeswalker is a bit weak, but I think the advantages more than outweigh the negatives. Finally, it's -7. Create 4 5/5 red dragon creature tokens with flying. Really, really powerful effect. Speaking of Sarkhan, he's got a bit mad. He's a bit AWOL. Ooh, he's angry. 5 mana for a 7 loyalty planeswalker. 0 him. Reveal the top card of your library. Put it into your hand. Sarkhan deals damage to himself equals that card's converted mana cost. So if you have something like Sensei's Divining Top or anything like that, you can manipulate the top of your deck and just keep drawing cards for free. Or you could reveal a 9 mana card and he just kills himself. But the -2, target creature controls sacrifices. Then that player puts a 5/5 dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Quite cool. Nice removal. You can use it on your opponent's big indestructible threat. Maybe like an Ulamog and give them a 5/5. Not the worst use in the world. Or you can use it on your own little tokens to sort of upgrade them. Then -4. The reason we're all here for this Sarkhan. Each dragon creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target player. So, if we've splurged a bunch of dragons onto the field, this can just one-shot someone, and it will end the game, at least for somebody. Could actually, possibly target yourself, if you wanted to. Then, Crux of Fate, 5 mana for a sorcery, choose 1, destroy all dragon creatures, or destroy all non-dragon creatures. Generally, in this deck, we're going to be choosing the second version of that. Also, this text also refers back to Sarkhan, so this is a very Sarkhan-y zone. Then, we've got Dragon Speaker Shaman. 3 mana for a 2/2 Human Barbarian Shaman, which is a big mass of creature types. Dragon spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. So obviously, this doesn't reduce our commander's coloured pips, but it can make it cost just 5 mana. Very, very powerful effect. Then, Crucible of Fire, 4 mana for an enchantment. Dragon creatures you control gets +3/+3. Cool. It's like an overrun permanently for dragons. And great little artwork. I love that little sort of whelpy dragon flying out of the smouldering wreckage. Then, Sarkhan's Triumph, 3 mana for an instant. Search your library for a dragon creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. There are some silver bullet dragons that we want to get in this deck, and when we cast our commander, we're going to be fishing out 5 of them. But if you want a specific one of them, this is the card for you. Which brings me on to number 4. And in number 4, we've got Release to the Wind. 3 mana for an instant. Exile target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may cast it without paying its mana cost. So why is this in here? Well, our commander, he only gets us the 5 dragons if we cast it. And with this, we can pay 3 mana, exile our commander, and then straight away for free, cast him, go and get 5 more free dragons. This is a nice little effect. It can save him from like board wipes or spot removal, and you can use it on your opponent's creatures. Say they've got a massive token, what's that, Body of Research, the 6 mana sorcery in Simic that makes a token equal to the size of your library. You could use it on this just to remove the token, or potentially if something's swinging in for lethal, exile it and then blah, 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 blah. But recasting our commander is the main use for this, and it'll help us fish out a ton more dragons. To go along with this, we've got Erratic Portal, which is a 4 mana artifact. 1 mana and tap it. Return target creature to its owner's hand unless its controller pays 1. So we want to be targeting our own commander or any other dragon that's got some nice utility, and we're not going to be paying the 1. We're just going to let it come back to our hand, and then we can recast it again. Alternatively, if our opponents are tapped out, you can target their commanders and bounce them back to their hand, which is good. Crystal Shard, exactly the same sort of effect, but slightly reduced, but you do have to have a blue mana. 3 mana for an artifact, pay 3 and tap it, or blue and tap it. Return target creature to its owner's hand unless its controller pays 1. Exactly the same effect. We're going to be using this on our commander. Then finally, Evacuation is a 5 mana instant. Return all creatures to their owner's hand. Why is this good? Well, we're going to be removing a lot of tokens. A lot of these cards can remove a lot of tokens because tokens don't go back to your hand. But we protect our entire board and also prevent our opponents from sort of expanding. And because our commander is 7 mana, if we've not got to 7 mana yet, we can just use this to slow down our opponents. Really, really powerful and works very well in the deck. Which brings me on to number 3. And in at number 3, we've got Worldgorger Dragon. Now, this is one of the silver bullet dragons that you might want to be searching for, and there's a very old and classic combo that goes along with this card. So it's a 6 mana 7/7 with flying and trample, and when it enters the battlefield, exile all other permanents you control. All of them. Just all of your lands and everything disappear forever. When it leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under its owner's control. So, how are we going to use this? Well, we can tutor it up and put it into our graveyard, and then once it's in the graveyard, if we use Animate Dead, which is a 2 mana enchantment that reads, oh, this is a wall of text, enchant creature in a graveyard. When Animate Dead enters the battlefield, if it's on the battlefield, it loses enchant creature card in the graveyard and gains enchant creature put into the battlefield with Animate Dead. Return enchanted creature card from the battlefield under your control and attach Animate Dead to it. When Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, that creature's controller sacrifices it. Enchanted creature gets -1, -0. There we go, I got through the text. Yay, we did it. So, if we reanimate Worldgorger Dragon, Worldgorger Dragon enters the battlefield, but then it exiles the Animate Dead. So the Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, which causes us to sacrifice the Worldgorger Dragon, which puts it to the graveyard, which then returns all of the things that have been exiled. So the Animate Dead re-enters the battlefield, and this loop just goes over and over and over again. So if we've got lands that are coming in untapped, like any basics or lands that come in untapped, we can generate infinite mana and kill our opponents with like a big X spell or something like that. Necromancy, 3 mana for enchantment. You choose to play it as an instant. If you do, bury it at end of turn. When you play Necromancy, choose target creature card in a graveyard. When Necromancy comes into play, put the creature into play as though it were played. Necromancy becomes a creature enchantment that targets the creature. If Necromancy leaves the battlefield, bury the creature. Exactly the same thing. The biggest wall of text, and it's so small I actually really can't read it. When Dance of the Dead, so enchant creature card in the graveyard. When Dance of the Dead comes into play, if it's in play, it loses enchant creature in the graveyard and gains enchant creature put into play with Animate Dead. Dance of the Dead, return enchanted creature card to play tapped under your control and attach Dance of the Dead to it. When Dance of the Dead leaves the play, That creature's controller sacrifices it. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. At the beginning of your upkeep, enchanted creature's controller that player may pay. Right, start that one again. At the beginning of the upkeep of enchanted creature's controller, that player may pay 2, or a generic and a black, if he or she does untap that creature. Jesus Christ. Basically, it does exactly the same, except it comes in tapped. Just text, just words. But if we've got one of these cards on the field, it'll be infinite damage to our opponents because they'll keep entering the battlefield over and over again. Scourge of Valkus is a 5-mana 4/4 with flying. When it or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. So if this is entering and leaving the battlefield over and over again, it is a dragon, so at least one dragon will be entering, so it could just ping our opponents to death. Then, Sunscorched Desert is a land desert. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to target player. You can tap it to add a colourless. So a nice colourless land. Yes, running colourless lands in a 5-colour deck isn't that good, but it does kill our opponents. Then there's Piranha Marsh. It's a land. When it enters the battlefield, tapped. And when it enters, target player loses 1 life. And you can tap it to add a black. This is a lot better. You know, we can't fetch it with many spells, but it does add a black at least, and it will kill our opponents if we keep flickering over and over again. Really quite cool. Which brings me on to number 2. And in number 2, we've got Shields of Velis Vel, a 1-mana tribal instant shapeshifter. And it has Changeling, which means it's every creature type at all times, which means in our library as well. Creatures target player controls get +0/+1 and gain all creature types until end of turn. So this can be fetched up with our commander, but it can also be fetched up with another card, which is Karthus, Tyrant of Jund. 7-mana 7/7 with flying and haste. And when it enters the battlefield, gain control of all dragons and untap all dragons. Other dragon creatures you control have haste. So if we use Shields of Velis Vel to target our opponent, who's got a massive board state, all of his creatures become Sand Warrior, Ulamog, no, not Ulamogs, Eldrazi dragons. Then, when Karthus enters the battlefield, he will gain control of every single one of those creatures, and that effect is permanent on Karthus. So we get everything all the time, which is really, really, really cool. And this is something you can just tutor up. You cast your commander, and 2 of the cards just have to be a Karthus and the Shields of Velis Vel. And why don't we get another card while we're doing this? Crib Swap. 3 mana for a tribal instant shapeshifter. Changeling, so it's every creature type at all times. Exile target creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 colour shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. Now this is an excellent flexible card. Bit of removal that we can tutor with our commander, which is very, very powerful. And because the token has Changeling, Karthus can steal it. Ooh, incredible. Then we have Descent of the Dragons. 6 mana for a sorcery. Destroy any number of target creatures. For each creature destroyed this way, its controller puts a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So we can use this in exactly the same way as Shields of Velis Vel with Karthus. We can target every one of our opponent's creatures, literally wipe the board of everything. They all become dragons. Play Karthus. We steal all of those dragon tokens, and they have haste. So someone's going to die that turn, and it's going to be quite graphic and gory. Which brings me on to number 1. And in number 1, it's Marathon, the Boundless. 7 mana for a 6/6 shapeshifter, who has Changeling, so he is a dragon. And when he enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. It's probably going to be dragon. Spells of the chosen type you cast cost white, blue, black, red, and green less to cast. This effect reduces only the amount of coloured mana you pay. Other creatures you control the chosen type get +1/+1. So straight off the bat, if Marathon is on the field, our commander only costs 2 generic. Really, really powerful effect. But we've then cast our commander for 2 generic. Why don't we tutor up some things we can cast for free? Scion of the Ur Dragon is a white, a blue, and a black, a red, and a green for a dragon avatar that's a 4/4 with flying. Pay 2, search your library for a dragon permanent card and put it into your graveyard. If you do, Scion of the Ur Dragon becomes a copy of that card until end of turn. Then shuffle your library. Excellent, excellent effect. Can become any of the big threats that you might have knocking about in your deck. And it's just really powerful, and we can cast it for free using Morophon. Okagachi, Vengeful Kami, costs a white, a blue, a black, a red, and a green, and 1. So you do have to pay 1 extra if you got Morophon on the field, but it's a Dragon Spirit with flying and trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, if that player attacked you during his or her last turn, exile target non-land permanent that player controls. And it's a 6/6, so it's a 1-mana 6/6 flying trample, other text, which is, pretty good if you're just wanting to dump everything onto the field. Then we've got Niv Mizzet Reborn, who's a white, a blue, a black, a red, and a green, for a dragon avatar 6/6 with flying. When it's the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each colour pair, choose a card that is exactly that colours from among them. Put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, is this going to be that good in the deck? Well, you could very much build your deck around it, have a lot of your cards be just 2 colours. All of the Elder Dragons, at least from, what's it called? The new set. What's that new set called? Strixhaven. From Strixhaven, all of them are 2 colours. So there are a lot of really cool dragons that you can play around and get with this card. And a lot of removal and other such ramp effects that are just 2 colours. So could be very, very powerful. Then Ramos Dragon Engine is a 6-mana 4/4 with flying. Whenever you cast a spell, put a 1/1 counter on Ramos Dragon Engine for each of that spell's colours. Remove 5 1/1 counters from Ramos. Add a white, a blue, a black, a red, a green to your mana pool. Activate this ability only once each turn. So, yes, Morophon won't reduce the cost of Ramos because he costs 6 generic. But if you have him on the field while you're dumping all of these 5-colour dragons, you're going to get 5 1/1 counters on him. You can remove them to get 10 mana, which is incredibly explosive and just leads to some incredible turns where you're just producing massive amounts of mana. Ramos is just growing and growing and growing, could potentially be lethal by himself, and it's all a good time overall. The Ur-Dragon, who costs a white, a blue, a black, a red, a green, and 4 generic for a dragon avatar who's a 10/10. Eminence, as long as it is your command zone or is on the battlefield, other dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So again, another great little reduction in cost. Flying, whenever 1 or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards and you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. Excellent splashy effect, really hits hard, and you can just dump massive things onto the field. And you're going to be drawing a ton of cards, which in a deck like this, you really need to refill your hand over and over and over again. Finally, we've got an Unsettled Mariner, who doesn't look like a dragon, but he actually is on the inside. A white and a blue for a 2/2 shapeshifter with Changeling. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, cancel that spell or ability unless its controller pays 1. So a nice little bit of protection here, can really help you out in a sticky wicket. And those are my top 5 cards for this brand new commander. He's a pretty cool card, to be fair. I wish he wasn't I wish he was in the Magic the Gathering universe, but hey ho, what can you do? Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to, please subscribe. It would make me very happy. If you want to etch my name into your forehead, don't. That would be unadvisable. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.